Welcome into Press Box Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles, and Luke Jackson is with me, the managing editor of Press Box and PressBoxOnline.com. And back with us after a week on the IR. Actually, the effects of the storm led him to not be able to join us last week, as the old left-hander, Ross Grimsley. Ross, we've got a World Series to preview. We don't have a lot of new Oriole news this week, but let's start with the weather. How did you and Bird and the residents of Bradenton make out down?
It was back-to-back storms. I think Helena and Milton, and Milton did a number on us. Especially after the damage done. I know the beaches took a big hit. A lot of the restaurants and establishments over there were destroyed. Even on the river next to us at different places had some problems. But yeah, it was St. Armand's Circle took a hit, and a lot of these places are going to reopen, but many of them are probably going to call it
a day.
Call it a year, years. But it was I tell you. Every storm that we've been in, I think 4 or 5 of the hurricanes since we've been here, and each one of them is different in its own little way. And these were 100-mile-an-hour plus winds, and that was unbelievable. And as I told you earlier, we stayed inland at Lakewood Ranch, and I had a transistor radio because the power went out. So about 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, they said the top of the trop blew off. And I'm going, are you serious? Are you kidding me? So I thought it was cement. How's it going to blow off? But they did a earlier show about all the cots they had laid out in the outfield. Thousands.
It's going to be like a rescue center.
It was for the workers.
For the workers.
Yeah, for the workers. And when I heard that the top had blown off, I said there had to be some people seriously injured. But there were thousands of them, about 6 inches apart, and thankfully no one got hurt. But yeah, it was. I drove by last Saturday morning about 5, taking some friends to the airport, and I got a chance to see it, and that was absolutely. It was shredded. It was shredded. A lot of water damage inside, and the big question is, where are the Rays going to play next year?
Yeah, is it known beyond a doubt that there's no way they'll be able to play there this year?
So Mark Topkin from the Tampa Bay Times reported a few days ago that opening day 2025 ain't happening at the Trop.
Right.
And from everything I've read, it's very possible that we've seen our last baseball game at the Trop.
Ever.
Yeah, because I don't know if anyone's
because they don't want to put the expense into that because they're building the new stadium.
That's absolutely right. So I think it's very likely at this point that the Rays are going to have to find somewhere not just to play in 2025, but the next 3 years while the new stadium is being built. Right. That's my guess. And
so somebody mentioned Oakland, and I'm going.
I mentioned Oakland.
Did you? I just don't. Do you?
I said let's trade. My good friend Andy Polich out there. I said, how about let's trade the A's for the Rays?
Yeah.
And he said he doubts that's going to happen, but you never know. I wonder if the place. It was interesting. Like Luke, 2.5, 3 years ago, there was this talk about them becoming a split franchise before the new stadium was agreed upon. They would play half their games in Montreal and half their games in Tampa. I wonder if this might give an opportunity to Montreal to have a team where they can resuscitate expansion hopes. What do you think of that?
So apparently Olympic Stadium is not really in a place for that to happen.
Okay.
Now, it would have been a great idea as a test run for Montreal to see if they could handle an expansion team. I think that would have been a great idea. I think at this point, the path of least resistance is probably a minor league / spring training facility in Florida. Maybe it's Tampa. Maybe it's the Braves' old place in Orlando at the Wide World of Sports Disney.
Right.
The issue there is that, as Ross knows, it's very rainy and it's very hot. And so, but I'm guessing that's going to be the path of least resistance. Maybe Orlando is the ultimate.
I'm wondering if there's the way that they played the Blue Jays played in Buffalo a
Mhm.
couple of years ago.
Mhm.
I'm wondering if there's not some way that Durham could host. I even threw out the possibility they got four partners in the American League East.
Yep.
What if they played 15 games in Boston, Toronto, New York, and Baltimore? That's 60 games, and then played the other 21 in Durham.
Just play on the road all year long.
Well,
And yeah,
that's what it sounds like
That's
they're
what
going
that's
to
going
do
to
anyway.
amount to.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I'll tell you what,
Yeah,
I'm
go
sure
ahead.
all of these options are being discussed.
yeah.
Sure.
And there is for no team this offseason, it's shorter for no team except for the Rays, right? I
Yeah.
mean, because when I saw those pictures coming in of the Trop, I'm thinking to myself, boy, they got to have that place ready by late March. There's no
Yeah.
way that's going to happen.
They're going to
There's
have.
just no way.
They're not going to invest the money. Number
Hey,
one.
right.
Where they're going to go is where they can make the most money.
And
That's
then I wonder if baseball, MLB, could sort of take what I'm saying and try and figure out a way for them to play 15 or 20 games in Nashville.
Yep.
All the cities that they're talking about possible
Oh, interesting.
expansion sites,
And actually use this as like a trial run for those potential expansion cities.
Just a
There-
thought. Just a thought.
and try if you're MLB as much as you can, turn it into an opportunity.
Exactly.
logistical nightmare.
At least for this
You're probably right about that, Ross.
At
Yeah.
least for this
Yeah.
first year. At least for
And
this first year.
it's a bit of a mess, man.
Would Montreal be able to host it next year?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer.
The field is the same. I mean, they've made some. I was up there when they a few years ago when they had Milwaukee played Toronto, and
Right.
the field's the field. I mean, it will do. I mean, obviously, it's got some
But
imperfections.
could they fit comfortably without spending a lot of money, 20,000 people a game in Montreal?
No, they could do that easily. They got a very large fan base. We were up there, and
I meant would the stadium house that many?
oh
In other
yeah,
words,
sure,
okay.
sure. I mean, it's they could do it. It would be, but I just don't. Like I said before, I think it would be just a logistical nightmare for the players, for their families. Baseball in general to do that, and but more, I think probably somewhere in Florida. Again, there's not a lot of dome stadiums down here other than that one.
No.
It will be hot, but they got some of the places hold 8,000-10,000 people, and that's what the Rays draw anyway.
Right. So in June, July, August, would it be too hot down there to have day games?
Well, they have the camp players playing down there. And it's I mean you'll get used to it. I mean these are young, strong, healthy guys, and it'll be hard, but I think if there's no other choice, what do you do?
Right.
And
you gotta play somewhere,
Yeah, and
play
again,
somewhere.
what I said before, they're going to play where they can get the most cash.
All right.
Will generate the most money.
Before we take on the preview of the World Series and I talk about our sponsor, the Costas Inn, the Six Thumbs place, we call it the Six Thumbs.
Thumbs up.
The Six Thumbs place.
That's a nice T-shirt.
What? Yeah, the Six Thumbs up. Yeah. Although they might want to have like thousands of thumbs up.
We can do that too.
Before we talk about that, this is a small topic, but you've now had Peter Angelo pass, and the Angelos family is no longer in the baseball business. It looks like Jerry Reinsdorf is getting ready to sell the White Sox. And then you've got the Poland family is looking to sell. They're exploring a sale of the Minnesota Twins. And Artie Moreno again is talking as if there's a possibility he might be persuaded to move on. are we about ready to have a real change of the guard? And is baseball ready to embrace some private equity ownership in these teams? Ross? Luke?
You know what? The way the game is changing, anything is up
I mean,
for
the
doing.
economics are they're really out of the reach even of people like the Polads and the Reinsdorfs. That's not the way they want to spend their money these days.
Yeah, well, that I'm sure in the very near future they're going to expand. They're going to expand out of the country into other areas, and like I said before, it's a money making business, and
Yeah.
they're going to they expand to more teams in different countries. That's going to be very interesting, and that's going to be a money maker. So I think that'll get the attention of a lot of people.
All right. And Luke, you have any thoughts on that? I'm not so sure about this expansion into other countries. I think we live in such a volatile time, like with these drug cartels in Mexico. I don't know that the MLB PA is going to be anxious to have their people. You say that, but I mean, the player safety has got to be a consideration.
Yeah, so I
Canada,
think
we know, is a safe place.
so. I think MLB will eventually expand to 32 teams, but we've been saying that for a while, and it's always been contingent upon the Oakland and Tampa Bay situations, which
Right.
keep on getting more and more messy as time goes. Now, we think that eventually the A's will end up in Vegas, and we think eventually the Rays will have a brand new stadium right around the current Tropicana site. And then after, so we're thinking more toward the end of the decade, we start thinking about expansion locations. Montreal being one, we discussed that. Nashville being another, we discussed that as well. The Raleigh area, perhaps being one. Charlotte, could that be
Portland,
one?
Portland.
Yeah,
I've heard Mexico City mentioned
right.
too. You know,
So I think that that's probably coming down the pike I think MLB is probably hoping by the end of the decade. But again, you got to get these Tampa Bay and Oakland situations settled first. And that's been the case for the past, I don't know, as long as I can remember.
well, the
Yes.
Oakland situation seems settled in that there's not going to be a team in Oakland for the
Mhm.
foreseeable future. I have a friend of mine well versed in the sports business world. It's not Marty or Andy Dolich that thinks that the A's are going to end up parking in Sacramento and that whole thing in Vegas is going to blow up and that they'll end up in Sacramento and that the family that owns the Sacramento Kings basketball
Mhm.
will kind of end up having them and developing a stadium out there, you know.
Well, it would have to be a dome stadium, right? Because it gets really, really hot in
In Sacramento.
Sacramento.
Yep. Yep.
And I don't know if you saw, it was reported today that uh,
Maybe they could buy parts of the old Tampa Dome. The Tampa Bay,
oh,
buy some of the Teflon and stuff like that.
It's all over the Caribbean. So
so the MLBPA had been pushing for a grass field in Sacramento,
Right.
and they got that done. It's going to be
Okay.
grass. I think it had been turf, or it was planned to be turf, or whatever the
Right.
case may be.
God, the turf out
So,
there would have been in 120 degrees.
right,
You
and
know?
that's another place. I don't know if they're going to be able to play day games or not. It's just so hot.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
All right. Uh, when we get back after this commercial word, we are going to do our first preview of the 2024 World Series, which is a repeat of a Dodger Yankee World Series, something that was all too often in the 50s and into the 60s, and then late 70s, early 80s. But we haven't had one in what 43 years, I think it is,
yeah.
since 1981. We have a New York Yankee, Los Angeles Dodger World Series, and we'll talk about it and we'll talk about the schedule. But first, we'll talk about something that is kind of like it's a restaurant that's kind of like a Yankee Dodger World Series every day of the week of the year, and that is the Costas Inn. And when I say that, it means it's the top place, top drawer place. Costas Inn, located 4100 North Point Boulevard. We call it on this program the Six Thumb Place because you got people here from all walks of life that love the Costas Inn. And that's the way it is for a lot of people. And I remind people, I don't do it on every commercial, that since that bridge collapsed, the Key Bridge tragedy, uh, a lot of people that used to go regularly to the Costas Inn because they'd hop on from Catonsville, Arbutus, that Glen Burnie, they'd hop on the Key Highway and it would be like 20, 25 minutes to Costas Inn. Now it's about an hour and 20 minutes, so they're not going there as often. Costas Inn is doing fine, but remember, if you live around the Costas Inn and maybe you were put off at how crowded it was all the time, they could use your business locally there in Middle River, Essex, Dundalk, Sparrows Point, the Costas Inn. It's been a community landmark for over 50 years. Great place for nightly, weeknight specials. And then the seafood is there every night of the week, too. Great crab cakes, great crab soup, and of course, the delicious Costas style Maryland steamed crab. Even though most of the crabs are from Texas and Louisiana, they still taste Maryland's crabs. The Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard, the Costas Inn. Remember the website, costasinn.com. The phone number is 410-477-1975. Call ahead, well ahead for your crab reservations. Okay. It's not the kind of thing anymore where you can always just walk into a high-end distinguished crab house and just say, hey, we want 8 of us, we want 3 dozen crabs. You got to make your plans and make sure they got the availability, the price point, and availability. All right. The Costas Inn. 6 thumbs up by the guy. All right. Well, boss, we got a World Series starting. First of
Yes,
all,
sir.
Luke, am I right on this? It starts Saturday night or Friday night?
Friday night.
Friday night. Is Luke? I mean Ross. I start with that. Is that a good way to schedule this? I mean, I guess with all the travel accommodations, you need to have some break, but this seems like 4 days at this time of year is a little bit much.
Yeah, well, they would. I think they would. If what Cleveland would have got in, it would have been on Tuesday night.
Okay.
And I don't think they don't even have a time scheduled yet for Friday of the game. But I mean, the travel back.
It's starting in Los Angeles, right?
Yeah.
Right. Every game is 8:08 p.m.
8:08.
Oh, they did. Okay. Yeah. I heard today that they did have a time set as of yet, but yeah, that is the travel back and forth is can wear you out. I mean, especially going out is not too bad. Coming back is the thing that I felt the worst doing. But yeah, that's something that that'll could take effect on some players.
So
Definitely.
so this will be Friday, Saturday, LA, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in New York, and
Mhm.
then Friday, Saturday again. They wanted to stay away from Sundays, apparently, in the World Series.
Yeah, and probably not the worst idea in the world, right?
No,
Don't
no,
want to
it's
interrupt
not.
the football.
Yeah.
But this is a big time, World Series rivalry that I guess Fox has got to be over the moon with getting a Yankee Dodger revival.
Yeah, I would assume so. They'll probably get bigger ratings for this than they have in at least the past several World Series. I mean, the
Yeah.
World Series ratings have gone down pretty consistently the past several years. So I'll be interested to see how many people tune in this time.
It'd be the first time the Yankees, since 2009, which is
Yeah. Yep.
is it
And
2009? Yeah.
yeah, and the
That's the longest the Yankees haven't been in a series since I think Luke Babe Ruth era. Before they got Babe Ruth.
yeah.
Okay.
Unbelievable. Yeah,
Who do
that's crazy.
we like in this series, and who, to me, on paper, the Dodgers have got to be the favorite, but they've got complications in that pitching staff. I thought Dave Roberts has done a remarkable job tap dancing around the fact that he's essentially got Jack Flaherty and Yamamoto.
Mhm.
I mean, other than that, he doesn't have much of a starting option. Walker Bueller has been less than, maybe he's getting a little bit better, but he hasn't been much of a source of real comfort for Dodger faithful. Who do you see as the favorite in this? Ross. Let's start with Ross.
Yeah, you know, they're so similar with the big three now. You know, Freddie Freeman's got an ankle problem, and how that goes, that's going to tell a lot. But the Yankees have their starting rotation. The people they have in their starting staff are better than the Dodgers. But you know, the Dodgers are very fundamental. They steal some bases, so that's going to be interesting to keep them. But you got you know, Otani. Otani, if guys get on base, he's going to swing the bat. If they don't get on base, he hasn't been hitting very well. Moogie Betts is Moogie Betts. And they got a couple guys at the back end of the lineup that are swinging the bat. They do a lot of little things, and they don't hurt themselves. Watching the Yankees over this year, they make some mental mistakes at time. I think the pitching with the starting rotation, the Yankees have that. The bullpen should be interesting how things go with the bullpens, but that's going to really be interesting. But I think the team that makes the fewest mistakes, they're so evenly matched here and there. I think the team that makes the fewer mistakes is going to come out on top.
Luke, the Dodgers have by far, in my opinion, the better overall top nine that play, and that's even without Freddie Freeman playing. And I don't think Freddie Freeman will play the first two games of this series, at least the first two games. We'll see how it works out. Do you believe that Giancarlo Stanton has changed the dynamic a little bit that's gotten the Yankees back into the same conversation?
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
And Giancarlo is a postseason killer. I mean, he's one of the best postseason hitters of the past 10, 15 years. And with the way their lineup is set up, it's very difficult to get through a game without Judge, Soto, or Stanton hurting you in some major way. And that makes the Yankees very difficult to beat over the course of a 5 or 7 game series in this case, because throughout a game, 4 at-bats for each, 5 at-bats for each, one of them is going to get you for a big blow at some point. And that was a big difficulty, big challenge for KC. That's going to be a big challenge. That was a big challenge for Cleveland. It's going to be the same for LA. LA has pressure.
is it less of a big challenge for LA with so many guys coming in for one
Yes.
inning at a time?
Yes. I think they have a deeper bullpen than KC or Cleveland did.
No question.
Cleveland went to the same 3 or 4 guys in big spots time after time after time. And I think some of those guys just wore down. You know, I think
Question
for the
about
most part, Clase just had a bad ALCS. He really had a bad playoffs. I don't think that was necessarily that he was worn down from his usage in the regular season. I just think he had a bad postseason. The one guy in particular, I thought Cade Smith was really run into the ground by Cleveland, and Dave Roberts hasn't
agree
had
totally with you. Yeah.
Dave Roberts hasn't had to do that with any of his guys, and I think especially given the 5 day, or excuse me, the 4 day break that they'll get, I think they'll come in pretty fresh. Uh, uh, from the starting pitching standpoint, obviously they'll hope that they'll get more from Jack Flaherty than they did in Game 5 when he was really, really rough and just didn't have it. But the first game that he threw against the Mets, he was really, really good. So it's in there. And so they'll hope for more of that Jack Flaherty than the one we saw in Game 5. Yamamoto at this point is a flip of a coin, and Walker Bueller is a flip of a coin.
A quick question about Eric Cole. I actually heard one of the three, and I think it was the lead announcer. Was that Anderson last night? No, Joe Davis, right?
Yeah.
Joe Davis. Somebody was saying that the Cole can pitch games 1, 4, and 7. I don't think Garrett Cole is that kind of pitcher at this moment in time, both with age and having come back from near Tommy John. I think that's a dangerous calculation to make that they can get 3 starts out of him.
Yeah, I would assume that, and that's really the one of the big advantages the Yankees have coming into the series. They have more healthy starters. So they have Cole, they have Rodon. Neither one of those guys had fantastic years, but they're plenty good enough. And then they have Schmidt, they have Heel, and they have Cortez, who should be available for the World Series as well. And LA only has 3 healthy starters. So,
And they're so.
yes.
But here's the question. As I use that line, Luke, in my, which I don't pat myself on the back, I said LA can smother you with bullpen arms
Right.
in place of the lack of starters.
Yep.
Where are we with has Aaron Boone been able to piece together a bullpen that he can count on the way that the Dodgers can? Now, I agree that you and I've talked off air. Luke Weaver has evolved into really being the man until he gave up the 2 home runs the other night. But I don't think Aaron Boone's got a bullpen to match when he runs into problems.
So I would probably agree with you there. Now, Luke Weaver and Tommy Kahnle have been fantastic.
Yeah.
And they've also gotten great work out of guys like Jake Cousins, who wasn't even on the ALDS roster.
Tim Hill is pitched.
Tim Hill was DFA'd by the White Sox in the middle of the season and brought in by the Yankees, and he's been terrific for them as the top left-hander in their bullpen. See, the relievers can kind of come from anywhere and everywhere. And so, and you see that with both of these bullpens. So one thing I will say is that those Yankee relievers have been walking a bit of a tightrope to get out of some situations. Like Cleveland did not hit very well with runners in scoring position. You want to know who won a playoff series? Typically, you just have to look at that runners in scoring position stat over the course of a 5 or 7 game series. That's going to tell you a lot about who won that series. And so Cleveland wasn't very good in those situations, especially against the Yankees bullpen.
Well, in a show like this, we're not doing a deep dive and analyzing each position, but let's get predictions on this series. We'll start with you, Luke Jackson. Who do you like and how many games?
Well, according to FanDuel, the Los Angeles is a slight favorite. They are minus 122 to win, and New York is plus 104 to win. That seems about right to me. I'm going LA in 7.
Okay. Ross Grimsley.
I think it kills me, but
you think the Yankees?
I think the Yankees. I really do. I think they with their starters. I think that you're going to go to the bullpen over a 7-game, possibly 7 games. I think they'll wear down the bullpen. Over a 7-game. It'll be if Roberts can pull some magic, continue to do it, it may work. But I just think with the 3 horses with the Yankees, that's going to be they got to stop them, and they're going to score some runs, I think.
Luke has given me the assignment of doing a column on this, and I'm probably going to write it tomorrow night. And I'm leaning toward the Dodgers, and I think Luke brought it up. I think with 4 days off and 2 off days, this is not these league championship series with either no off days or 1 off day. I think the Dodgers bullpen is going to be able to be creatively used in such a way. And I'm just not thrilled with Yankees starting pitching. I don't think Garrett Cole today is the Garrett Cole of 2-3 years ago. I think he's missing a tick. I don't think he's keeping his pitch counts down, and I think he's going to struggle. And Rodon can look brilliant for 3 2/3, 4 1/3, but he seems to run out of gas and suddenly. And I don't know what they'll get out of Nestor Cortez. And Luke, I wasn't thrilled with Luis Gil the other night. I didn't think he looked.
Yeah, I think that was his first start in
like 19 days.
or 19, 20 days, something like that. and I thought the stuff was good, but he looked like a guy who hadn't started in 3 weeks.
Yeah. So
And
we'll see. We'll see.
yeah,
I like
Yeah.
Dodgers in probably 6. Ross, you want to pick games? You think
Oh
this
boy,
is a quick 5,
yeah,
6,
I
7?
I'm going to go 7. I think the Yankees will jump on the Dodger starters, and they're going to have to go to the bullpen sooner than they expect to do. But again, I mean, the Dodgers are on a roll. Roberts has been magnificent.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The Yankees are clicking now. They got the 3 guys swinging. Freddie Freeman not being in a lineup, that could be an issue. But I think the Yankees could pull this off.
All right. So you got 2 Dodgers. Luke and I are Dodgers, and Ross Grimsley's on the New York Yankees, the team he always secretly wanted to play.
No, I didn't want to play for him because I was able to beat him a lot.
All right. Good. You were a Yankee killer. All right. All right. That's going to do it for today. We will be back next Monday, roughly at the same time, if everything works and there's no hurricanes in the
Yeah, really.
intermission. All right. That does it for today's Press Box Live. For Luke Jackson, Ross Grimsley, I'm Stan the Fan. We thank our friends at the Costas Inn, the 6 Thumbs Up restaurant. And that does it for today's show. We'll talk down the road. I will be on tomorrow afternoon with Mary Drexler of the Problem Gambling folks that in the state of Maryland. And we'll have a talk tomorrow afternoon at around 3 o'clock. Gary Stein and I will be doing something the week after on sports business with Andy Dolich and Marty Conway. But we'll be back next Monday, right in the middle of the world. Talk to you soon, everybody. Bye.